Hi, so today we're going to start off with your Unit 4, which is the nervous tissue. So we'll go through just a few basic introduction things, and then later on in this unit, you guys will get to see several of my lovely drawings. So this unit is composed of nervous tissue, and then at the end, it will also include central nervous system, which is the brain. So just some fun facts about the brain. The number of neurons. So the neurons are the cells in your nervous system that are able to communicate, and we'll go through how that happens in a little bit. Basically, your nervous system is made out of 100 billion neurons. So some research says more like 86, some research says more like 100 billion. Either way, that is a whole lot of neurons, and that makes us who we are. That's how our body's able to communicate with itself, with each other. That's how you're able to learn things. That's how you're able to sing, dance, play music, whatever, and all because of these billions of neurons that you have. Neurons connect to each other with these things called synapses. So that's a connection between two different neurons. So synapse is a connection between two neurons. And we have even more synapses. So each neuron may synapse with hundreds of others, or it might just synapse with one other. It kind of depends on the situation. Just kind of other fun facts, 100,000 miles of nerve fibers are found within your body. So if you were to take them all out and line them up, it would be 100,000 miles, which is crazy. And then in everyday life, you are losing 85,000 neurons every day. So since we started talking 2 minutes ago, you've already lost, under 120 neurons. But that's okay, that's normal, that's healthy, it's all good. The nervous system gets split into two main subdivisions. So the first is the central nervous system, and the second is the peripheral nervous system. So in the central nervous system, this is going to be the brain and the spinal cord. And then the peripheral nervous system is in your periphery. So any other nerves and ganglia, which are little clusters of nerves, not in the central nervous system. So everything except the brain and spinal cord. This graph just shows the central and peripheral nervous system and their individual subdivisions. So this unit, we will go through central nervous system, peripheral we will cover next unit. So the nervous system is made primarily out of neurons, but there are also a lot of supporting cells that we call glia or neuroglia. So all of these neuroglia cells are helping to maintain the right environment so that the neurons can communicate with each other. We will go through each one of these cell types on their own, and I highly recommend making sure you know these well, because these are really good exam questions, so definitely know these. So neurons are neurons because they have three really important properties. So the first is excitability, and that's its ability to respond to any type of stimulus. So if it's really hot versus it's really cold, your nerves respond to that stimulation that, oh, it's really hot, so they'll send a signal. It's really cold, they'll send a signal. They're able to kind of interact with the external environment. Nerves are also able to conduct electricity. So the way that they send signals is through literally electricity, and we'll go through that later. And then the third property is secretion that we kind of forget about a lot. So neurons use these things called neurotransmitters to communicate with each other. So at the end of one neuron, there are a bunch of little neurotransmitters, and it secretes them in order to give them to the next neuron, and that allows the two to communicate with each other. This drawing, you will see probably on your exam, and you also have it on one of your assignments. So this drawing is looking at the different parts of the neuron and what they each do. So this whole thing is a neuron. Information follows these little blue arrows. So the first part here, where information comes in, is called dendrites. So all of these little hairs here, these are all little dendrites, and they receive information and they send it in to the cell body, which is also called the soma. Cell body contains a nucleus. You guys all know what the nucleus does. From there, information travels this way, and it enters this area here called the trigger zone, or the axon hillock. So in the axon hillock, the threshold is lowest for communication, so it's really easy for nerves to send signals from here. So this is where action potentials are initiated. From there, the nerve signal continues down the very long axon. So the axon is all of this long skinny part. The axon can be several feet long, and the axon basically just conducts a signal. So it's sending the signal all the way down so that it can reach the axon terminals, which are these very end parts of the neuron that have neurotransmitter within them. So within the axon terminals, there are many neurotransmitters, and we'll go through different types of neurotransmitters later. So the different parts of a neuron are the ones that we just went through. Here they are in text, so all of these things you should know. So information starts at the dendrites, it then goes to the cell body or the soma. Information then travels to the axon hillock, and this is where action potentials start. And then, And then information travels down the axon, and that can be very, very long, several feet long. And then the information ends at the synaptic knobs, which are the little swollen parts at the very end of the neuron. And this is where the neurotransmitters are that I was just trying to circle, and the computer was being weird. So the way that two neurons communicate with each other is through this thing called the chemical synapse. So this is the junction between two neurons. So you can see there's a little space in between them, and that is how they communicate. So here, this neuron in blue is going to be called presynaptic, and this neuron down here is going to be called postsynaptic, and in the middle is the synaptic cleft. So we'll go through this in a bunch of detail, but I just kind of want to give you a little preview of what the synapse is.